Welcome to Freedom and Glory, Tales of American Spirit, where we share inspiring stories of resilience, courage, and hope. Join us as we celebrate the people and moments that define our nation's values and remind us that even the smallest actions can spark lasting change. And here's your hosts, Liz Morris and Bill LeMay.
Bill, today we're talking to Shawn Roser Warren. She's a passionate advocate for veterans and her community in DeRuyter, New York. Alongside her husband, Marine Corps veteran Kit Warren, she worked on meaningful projects like creating Hometown Heroes banners. After Kit's passing, Shawn founded the Kit Warren Community Fund, dedicated to honoring veterans and town beautification projects. Through her efforts, Shawn preserves legacies, enhances community spaces, and inspires others to make a difference, showing that small actions can create a lasting impact.
Absolutely. Can't wait to talk to this woman. She is inspiring. Truly is.
All right. So thank you for joining us, Shawn. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, both Kit and I owned businesses, so we had a very busy lifestyle. I actually have a love and passion for design and decorating. So my business was in interior decor, and Kit was a welder. So I worked with Kit as well and helped him. And then also running these two businesses, I love to volunteer in the world of non-for-profit. And I have been volunteering in the world of not-for-profit for 40 years.
I was going to ask you, 40 years in nonprofit, that's different than the for-profit sector. Why did you gravitate to that? And what were some of the causes you took on?
Well, the first non-for-profit was obviously the church that I belonged to. And I really enjoy giving, my skill set that I have into the world of not-for-profit. If there's a need, and that was the first one. And I gravitated towards it. I loved it. And I love fundraising, and I love bringing in capital to work and help and assist and aid the non-for-profit. And I guess I just enjoy it. And I just been sticking with it for the most part. I was very dedicated with the church for many, many, many years. I actually left the church and went to a local SPCA. I had always wanted to be the voice of animals because I love animals. My husband and I have had many of kitty cats over the years, and I was there for 8 years. And in that aspect, I was actually doing the finances, totally different than I had done at the church. At the church, I was renovating the church buildings. The church actually owned 3 buildings. We had a parsonage, a parish house, and the church. And they were older buildings. We're in a small community. And I was actually renovating these buildings and putting in roofs and fixing the insides and the bathrooms and painting and putting in sidewalks, which is a love and passion of mine. I love construction and renovating. And so it was really different when I went to the SPCA because everything I did was more of a business aspect. I was working on taking care of the finances of the organization. So it was different. It was challenging, but it was also very rewarding as well. And I left there after 8 years because my husband, Kit, was the first vice commander of the American Legion and the finance officer, and he was very, very, very active. And I wanted to join him and support him and serve the organization. And I think it was fun that we actually got to spend even more time together. And we just really had a good time when we were working in that part of my fundraising.
Shawn, will you tell us a bit about your husband, Kit?
Well, Kit was a great man, and he would do anything for anybody. He joined the Marine Corps right out of high school at the age of 17. He served from 1971 to 1973 during the Vietnam War. After he was discharged, he went back to his skill set, which was welding. Kit had learned the trade of welding while he was in high school. And so he went back to welding, and he actually worked in manufacturing as a welder for probably close to 40 years in 3 different jobs. But in the meantime, he also started his own business, and he was building his own business as he was working in the world of manufacturing. And eventually he ended up retiring from manufacturing and went into business all for himself. And he was probably close to 10 years that he was working for himself before the accident happened. Always was smiling, always had a smile on his face. And people, just the other day, one of the bicyclists sent me a note and said that they think of him often, and then they think of me, but they will remember him for his smiles and camaraderie, and not the night of the accident.
How did you and Kit meet?
We were neighbors. My family moved into the village in early 80s, and Kit was my neighbor. And, one day he stopped and said hi, and, how are you? I'm Kit, and I'm your neighbor. And before you know it, we kind of became friends, and then the friendship just continued on for 38 years.
One of the things about veterans, I mean, I have such respect for them, but there seems to be this bond between those who serve and the families of those who serve. How was it for you? I mean, you were working for the VFW. Obviously, you were married to someone who is involved in the service. What's that like, and how do you generate that love for veterans when you are reaching out to the community for help?
Well, I did notice that bond, and so I actually kind of really focused on working with just Kit. We did work on fundraisers together, and there were other veterans there. They were always very appreciative of me being there and very helpful. But you kind of always felt that bond, and you just tried to support them, just try to be supportive to them. And I think they always appreciated being supported and recognized that you were willing to help them. And I don't think all veterans have felt that over the years. So I think they felt really good that I was willing to come on board and be supportive to them. And so I really worked with them specifically until after Kit was killed. And then after Kit was killed, I stayed and I worked with them. And I just didn't feel like I fit in. So, I'm not a veteran. And I guess I didn't really feel that I had that special bond that they had. So that's when I chose to leave and start my own non-for-profit, the Kit Warren Community Fund, and Kit's Legacy, in which then I took the projects that him and I were working on, which were the Grave Marker Project, the Hometown Hero Banner Project. I took them with me so they would continue to be done through his legacy.
Will you tell us about some of those projects that you and Kit, and then you spearheaded for our vets?
So Kit and I started a grave marker project, and it all started when someone in the community came to Kit and said, I have some family members and they don't have grave markers, and would you find an avenue to purchase some grave markers? And of course, Kit, being the loving, caring, giving person that he was, goes, sure. And he came home and said, hey, hon, can you find some grave markers? So I started researching out grave markers, and that's where I had received a catalog. The American Legion had received a catalog from Carrot Top. So I was like, hon, these are really, really good grave markers. They're bronze. They're really good, well-made grave markers. And so let's purchase these. So we purchased them, and when they came in, the quality of them was so great. And it just was so inspiring to me. And I said to him, I think we should start a grave marker project. Let's start buying grave markers and putting them on the graves of the veterans. And he looked at me and he was like, well, that's going to cost money. And how do you think you're going to pay for this? And I said, well, don't worry about it. I've got an idea. Let's start with the can and bottle drives, and we'll go from there. And so honestly, this entire project that has been, I'm thinking 7 years, that I've been working on these grave markers has been funded through can and bottle drives and donations. It's been amazing. And
Wow.
it's been a huge process. Of course, I called Carrot Top. Stephanie was the first person I worked with, and Stephanie's been working with me all these years on all these projects. I feel like she's a part of our team here in DeRuyter. And it just was so rewarding when you first started putting them on the graves, because, there was a place to put the flag in it. You had a place to put the flag. The flags were no longer in the ground. They were no longer in PVC pipe. And so, we have almost 300 veterans buried at Hillcrest Cemetery, and we're not quite done, but we're gaining. And of course, we always seem to add a veteran or two every year. And so we always need to have those grave markers in stock so we can put the grave marker on their grave. So that was the first project that Kit and I started. And then the second project we started was we were on a trip in Pennsylvania, and we were coming home, and we went through this town, and they had all these banners through town that were honoring our veterans. And Kit was driving, and he got this big smile on his face, and he says, "Oh my gosh, this is so awesome." He says, "I would really love to do this at home back in DeRuyter." And I looked at him and I smiled, and I said, "Well, if this is what you want to do, then this is what we're going to do." So we came home, we started the process, organizing another project, had to, reach out to the mayor and the town supervisor, and got permission, and then had to get permission to put them on the poles. And it started in 20, we started in 20 getting it organized. And the first 5 banners that we put up in 2021 were the 5 veterans that were killed in action. And then we were opening up the program for other people to, family members to honor their veteran by putting their picture and their details on the banners. And this is a little sad. The first batch of proofs came in. I think there were like 8 of them. And Kit had an appointment that day, and he came in, and I said, "Hon, the first batch of proofs are in. I need to have you look them over and prove them." And he did. And he went back out to work. And that was the night he went for his bicycle ride and was struck and killed. And so Kit never really got to see the other banners being put up. So I'm really proud to say that even though the first batch went in 21 and now we're in 2025, that we are probably going to be at about 70 banners this spring. So we have gained about 65 banners in the last 4 years. It really took off. And actually in the meantime, Kit and I were renovating the American Legion. We were literally ripping the bathrooms apart and renovating the bathrooms of the American Legion and working at the same time. Some of the things we did, we were crazy. But we loved being together. We loved spending time together. We loved working together. And we were always very proud. And everybody in the organization was always so happy and so proud and so pleased that we were doing everything, for our veterans in our community. The project that Kit and I were talking about before he was killed was him and I were up putting flags on the graves before Memorial Day in May of 21. And we were up there near the Veterans Memorial area, and I was standing there and I'm like looking at the flag and everything. And I said, "Hon, this is looking a little sad. It really needs some help." I said, "What do you think if we renovated this?" And he kind of looked at me and said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I would really love to renovate it. Let's change the flagpole out, kind of fix it up a little bit better." It was like a pine tree to the left of the monument. There was a monument that had been donated about 68 years ago. And it was a beautiful monument that Mr. Bryant donated from his estate. And they put up a flagpole. And it had been there for 68 years, and the flagpole was really starting to look a little sad and tired. And they had cut one tree down, and there was a stump sitting up out of the ground, and it's just looking sad. It really needs help. And Kit, as always, would look at me and say, and how do you think you're going to pay for this, Shawn? Because your projects are always so huge and always cost a lot of money. And I said, well, don't worry about the money. I'll figure that part out. And so the sad part was we never got to do that because he was struck and killed about a month after that. But in the following spring of May of 22, my friend Kelly is now working with me on putting the flags up on the graves. And we were standing there and I said, I was telling her what we wanted to do. And I was kind of sad because I really had an amazing vision for this project. And I didn't think it was going to come true. And she, being the great friend that she is, looked at me and said, if you want to do this, I will help you do this. So Kelly and I approached the association, and we sat down and had a meeting with them in July of 22, and they granted us permission to renovate the Veterans Memorial. So it was quite a project. It was a 2-year project. We had many people involved, and it took many fundraisers to pull this off.
Your values have power when they're shared. Follow Carrot Top Flags for content you can use to inspire others and make an impact in your community. Together, we'll amplify stories that reflect the American spirit. Visit us on social media right now at Carrot Top Flags.
I was going to ask you, Shawn, because I think, it's really inspiring what you've taken on. And I think, a lot of people maybe see stuff in their community and say, oh, that doesn't look great. But I don't know, it's incredible that you've gone to that next step to do something about it and really taken things into your own hands. I mean, how have these projects been received by the community?
Very, very well. Everybody has been very supportive of all these projects. We can go back to the grave marker project. Like I said, it was all done by can and bottle dries, and people are like dropping off cans and bottles all the time. And, even when we're out doing another fundraiser, we have a donation jar to the grave markers, and people will walk by and go, oh, here's some money for the grave marker. Here's, people have really received the grave markers. They appreciate the grave markers because they really have more than one purpose. Obviously, the most important part is that they honor that person on their who is resting, that they were a veteran. But it also takes the American flag, and it has a place to put the flag in. So the flag isn't falling on the ground or it's not drooping. And it also helps the cemeteries, caretakers, take care of the cemetery better because it's easier for them to mow and trim around. So that really, really took off really well. The hometown hero banners, you started putting them up, and then all of a sudden everybody's, I want to do one for my dad. I want to do one for my grandfather, my brother, my son, my uncle. It just all snowballed. Everybody just kept going, and it kept going and going. And I still have people to this day call me and say, I want to do a hometown hero banner for my loved one. And for the project at the cemetery, people really came on board for that. They really did. They came out in many different ways. We had various fundraisers, and it didn't matter what we had, they were there being very supportive. And some people actually just made personal donations as well. So the support that I have been given has been amazing. Just amazing.
What would you say to the folks who, like you, would love to do this? It's clear you love it, that you're emotionally tied to this. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there. And they just, the first step, how do you get them off the couch? What would you say?
Well, if you're listening to this podcast and it might inspire you a little bit, take that inspiration and just go forward. Figure it out. If you want to start a grave marker project, go to your cemetery association. Some cemeteries are struggling. I'm sure they would cherish you coming forward and saying, hey, I want to come and help you, and I want to, fundraise and raise money and put grave markers on our veterans' graves, because they also appreciated the fact that their veterans that are buried in their cemetery are being honored. And if you want to do a hometown hero banner, well, go to your mayor, go to your town supervisor. You got to get permission to do the projects. And once you do that, I've never had anybody say no. And matter of fact, I actually have had 4 other municipalities come to me after I have done all these projects and have asked advice. How do you go about doing all this? Some are not-for-profits and some are municipalities. And I tell them, well, the first thing you got to get permission. You got to get permission from the mayor or the town supervisor. And then you got to get permission to put them on the poles. There are electric poles here, so we had to get permission from the electrical company. So it is a job, it is a process, but I can guarantee you that the rewards will be so rewarding. So if you have that inspiration in you at all, just take it and go forward. And at the end of it all, not only is that inspiration going to benefit your veterans, it's also going to be a part of your legacy that you will leave in your community as well.
So true. That is so true.
Shawn, can you talk a little bit about the Kit Warren Community Fund and kind of, what's the mission of that organization?
Well, our mission is to support veterans. We're still very much being very supportive to veterans, which is the grave markers and the hometown heroes banners. We also are being very supportive to some of the other smaller local non-for-profits. We have a food pantry and a library, a historical society, and we're trying to be supportive to them as well and assist and aid them when they need help. And of course, enhancement. As you can see, I love to renovate and decorate. So we chose to enhance the community as well. And we feel that, the grave markers are enhancement to the cemetery. The banners are an enhancement to our community. And so down the road, we really would like to enhance the community or help enhance the community in other avenues as well. We did our first enhancement at Christmas time, and we went in and we did a lot of Christmas decorating, and we did decorating our town hall and our bank, and we did a window display. So this past Christmas, we went in and we did some enhancement, and everybody was just, oh, we loved it. They were like, oh, we loved all the Christmas decorating you did for us in the holiday. So enhancing the community, supporting some of our local non-for-profits, and still being supportive to our veterans and making sure that they're being honored in many different ways, whether it's the project at the cemetery or a banner or a grave marker, because we're really not done with the grave marker project. We still have, there's like 6 very small cemeteries. They have veterans buried in them as well. And we want to be able to expand to even those really small cemeteries and make sure that all our veterans, no matter what cemetery they're buried in, that they're honored.
You make it sound so easy. You sound like somebody who's not going to say no or take no for an answer. But honestly, give me the reality now. Is everybody so helpful? Are there challenges that you face when you go talk to politicians or particularly fundraising to raise the necessary funds?
Well, no, everybody's been, for the most part, everybody's been very supportive. I haven't gotten too many no's. So that has not been a problem. Most people are very inspired that you're wanting to honor veterans. So when you go forward and you ask people, they're like, sure, go ahead. Oh yeah, go ahead, do this, do that. So I never had any problems with anybody really telling me no. The challenges with fundraisers are sometimes you have to do a variety of fundraisers for a variety of people. So you capture many people. And of course, being here in Central New York, you got to work around the weather. You got to work around everybody's busy schedules. You got to work around a very, very busy little community because there's other people raising money as well. So you got to try to figure how to fit your fundraiser in around everybody else. And just stay focused and keep going.
Shawn, how can, do people reach out to you and want to get involved personally, or, how can they do that? How can they connect with you? How can they support you financially?
Well, on an occasion, somebody will say, if you ever need help, let me know. And so we actually have, believe it or not, a good team of people already. We have a fundraising team. We have a team that does some of the fundraisers. We have another team that does another fundraiser. So we are small, but we already have an amazing team of people. And when I worked on the Veterans Memorial Project, everybody that was working with me on that came with me and just kept going on under the Kit Warren Community Fund. So on an occasion, I still have somebody say, if you need help with something, let me know. And believe me, I write it down. And when we get to that point, like somebody will say, well, I'm a baker, so the next time you do a bake sale, don't be afraid to call me. So I'll call them and say, we're having a bake sale, and they'll all be there. This is a very supportive community with a big, big heart. And they're all there to support my not-for-profit. We're small. We're not on Facebook. We don't have a website. We're kind of still operating in old school ways. So people do make donations, but they have to send a check in to the Kit Warren Community Fund in order to do that. I don't have any other avenues to receiving donations at this time.
Well, I'm inspired. Let's go. Let's go raise money. Let's do something.
I know.
Well, it's been awesome talking to you. I mean, truly, you can tell when you have someone who is just in love with what they do, it just goes right through the screen, and it does inspire everybody. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Bill.
Shawn, what has it meant to you personally to kind of witness the impact of these projects and in Kit's legacy?
It has been an honor and a privilege to be given the opportunity to do all of these projects and to honor our veterans in so many ways. It's been just rewarding and humbling every step of the way. You can be at the bank and somebody will come up to you and say, thank you. Thank you for taking the time and the work to honor my dad, honor my brother. It's so appreciative. And I can tell you that I've had many emotional conversations with people who it really tugs on their hearts. And that's another reason I said, if it is in your heart and it inspires you, take that inspiration and go forward, because you will not regret it, because it is so rewarding in so many ways.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Shawn. I love how you have taken something, your passion of design and, just carried that forward into this new nonprofit that, is on behalf of Kit and others in your community. It's just really cool to see how you've taken something that you love and made it bigger and, really grown it. So thank you for joining us and thank you for what you do for your community.
Oh, thank you, Liz. Thank you for inviting me to being a part of your Freedom and Glory podcast. And you are a remarkable woman, and you are, I appreciate all your hard work and efforts as well.
Well, thank you. Well, and I know you mentioned Stephanie. She just loves working with you, and we appreciate your business.
I love
I'm
Stephanie.
really excited to see what you do next.
I love Stephanie as well. I love when she answers the phone and says, Stephanie, it's Shawn. I need grade markers. Oh, I need new flans.
Well, I just loved talking to
Oh, yeah.
Shawn. She is so inspiring, and I think it's just really cool how she took something, that she was passionate about in her career and kind of, took it into her second career of, creating this nonprofit and volunteering and really impacting her community.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, you have people now, and I know I have military people in my family and have lost some. So the impact it has on that family to have a grave marker, for instance, or a banner celebrating that person's life, you really can't measure that. But the whole community benefits, which I think is inspiring. Not often do you have a good cause that brings a whole community together. And she mentioned, all you have to do is reach out, right, to people you know in the community, and you might be surprised how readily available they are to help out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, folks in your town hall, in the historic societies in your area, I mean, those she mentioned cemeteries. I think, those are communities that are already set like plugged in to uh folks in their area. I think historic societies are very interesting. And Sean kind of touched on this, but large cemeteries, they're very organized in terms of, okay, we know where all of our veterans are. But when you start working with the smaller cemeteries, that's just amazing for Sean to include that in her project because a lot of times they might not know where all the veterans are buried. So you need to research and kind of coordinate with your historic society or other folks who are aware of who's buried there.
I'm pretty sure if you want to do it, you're going to find an army that'll help you. Absolutely. So, what are you waiting for? If you want to, just do it. No, I can't wait. You have some incredible guests coming up. What's coming up next week?
Yeah, so we're talking to Neelish Patel. He's the president of NetFriends. They're an IT services company here in Durham, North Carolina. And Neelish is a very passionate guy. He came up in the tech industry in San Francisco during the dot-com bubble, also during its burst and the 2008 recession. And I'm really excited to talk to Neelish about his journey, of entrepreneurship, leadership, and how he fosters a culture of service through to make a lasting impact on businesses in his community.
Can always learn from somebody who's been successful and also had some rough times and how you get over that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining us. And Liz, always good to see you. You do such a fantastic job. You don't even need me. I should just leave.
No, thank you, Bill.
Are you interested in getting involved in the Kit Warren Community Fund? Would you like to contribute financially? You can send your donations to the Kit Warren Community Fund to the address on the screen or found in today's show notes. Thank you for listening to Freedom and Glory, Tales of American Spirit. We hope today's story inspired you to take action, embrace challenges, and pursue your dreams. To explore our collection of American-made flags and products that celebrate resilience and craftsmanship, visit us at carrot-top.com.